Welcome to the Vault XL. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope you all are well. All right, everybody. Movie of the week is The Working Man with Mr. Statham. It's a well-known action actor. He's been in numerous movies, so please check it out. Comes out tomorrow at a theater near you. This is a 4-part live, and we will also piggyback off of other breaking news that I've discussed and newer stories. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $Beganji 129 Cash App, stickers and chats always welcome during the live stream. The first content is pertaining to Julie Chrisley. She wants a new re-sentencing of her charges, and also she wants it before a new judge. Next, Wendy Williams. She and her son has reconciled. As most of you know, she is an advocate who is looking forward to a trial if need be, and we will see what happens if Wendy will go to trial with this guardianship. But as of a week ago, she was scooting around the city in a scooter. I don't know exactly where she's staying, if they've moved her out of that nursing facility, but hopefully she's in a better place, and she's in a better place mentally and physically. Now, once again, her son denied allegations that he defrauded his mother in any way, that he got permission to spend on her card, but the bank felt like there was some mischievousness being done, pertaining to her monies, extravagant purchases. And my thing is, if you've been spending a lot of money on your credit card, debit card, I don't think it would be a red flag at the bank. So they obviously saw something in abundance of spending for them to freeze the account. And that's the whole thing, is that she was in New York naturally before going to Florida when all that spending started in Florida. So obviously she wasn't buying a lot of things that would have drawn attention to her account. But she has reconciled with her son, saw him, when she went to Florida for her father's 94th birthday. And he is her child, so hopefully things will be better between them two. And if the courts deem her fit to be on her own, have her own, have access to her own funds, she will not be loaning out any cards, checkbooks to anyone. And hopefully she'll also put her name in a security database to show any improprieties of opening accounts, lines of credits, so on and so forth. And when you're well off, you should be doing that anyway, because anybody can pretend to be you and open up a line of credit or, get credit cards in your name. So that's Wendy Williams, Julie Chrisley. The next conversation, Sean Puffy Combs. Thank you for joining me, everybody. 4-part live.
Sean Diddy Combs is celebrating a legal win after a federal judge dropped multiple charges in a $30 million civil lawsuit against him. The New York judge dismissed the most serious allegations in the lawsuit from former music producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones and warned Jones's attorney to stop making, quote, irrelevant insults, misstatements, and exaggerations. Combs denies all the allegations against him, and this all comes as a new ABC News podcast is shedding light on the criminal charges and civil lawsuits against Diddy and his claims of innocence. Bad Rap, the case against Diddy, is brought to you by host ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer, and I spoke with Brian yesterday to tell us all about it. Take a look. Congratulations on the new podcast. I know our viewers are excited because you're a familiar face around here. So I want to start there because you are on here almost every week, if not more often, with me talking about big cases in the news. So what made you focus on this one? What is it about Diddy's case that made you want to dig deeper?
So I think it's a combination of, and I think we can all kind of agree to some extent, everyone knows Puffy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, in some way, shape, or form through his music. He's had a huge influence in the way that we look at hip-hop, the way we look at millionaires, billionaires, fashion, things like that. And then all of a sudden, we have this massive criminal case. And I think a lot of people are looking back and saying, what? I heard a whisper, I heard a rumor. Is this connected? Is it not? And I think both as an attorney and as just a person who was born in the 80s, this fascinated me, and I really appreciate ABC and everyone involved, because when I came with a crazy idea of like, what about a podcast? People were like, you know what? Yeah, let's see how this works.
How significant is it that this federal judge just dropped multiple charges from Lil Rod's civil lawsuit?
So I get that it's a big headline, and it is significant if you're looking at it just as this civil lawsuit. And I think the Rodney Jones lawsuit was massive in the sense that it led to the raids of Sean Combs' homes, because in that lawsuit he said, this is where the videos are, this is what he's doing with it, all these allegations, and likely led to this federal indictment. But the reason why these charges got dismissed is because of pleadings. The way that the attorney pled out the charges with RICO, for example, that highest charge, and couldn't connect an alleged criminal enterprise to the damages that Rodney Jones says that he faced. Now, does that mean that Sean Combs had a RICO enterprise? Maybe, maybe not. But it means in the civil lawsuit, it's not going to apply. So for his federal indictment, that criminal case, that's still going on, and that's probably a bigger issue for Sean Combs overall.
This story has gotten a lot of coverage already, and it undoubtedly will continue to. So what makes bad rap different?
So I think the really beautiful thing that ABC Radio and 2020 is doing is we have so much video, audio over the years of Sean Combs. He's always been in the public eye, and the ability to go through archival information, to speak to experts who are at some of the white parties, who listen to some of his music, who was following it all along, and then kind of just putting myself in there. Also someone who actually knows the law, who has been in the Southern District of New York where he's being prosecuted, and you get to see it from all of those angles, and someone who's familiar with the music and the culture in many ways, and talking about it from all those angles, and then leading up to the trial. I think a lot of times we talk about trials, we kind of just drop people in. It's like, all right, here's opening statements. But with the podcast, you get to really follow the rise and fall of Sean Combs up into the trial, hear the controversy, hear the whispers, hear what could have really crashed his career but didn't, and then we leave you right at the trial, informed, entertained, exhilarated, and then we do it twice a week while the trial goes on, and we're going to give you those updates, give you that analysis, and also how it's all connected.
And I can confirm even from our conversations, when you understand what's coming in a trial and the context around it before that trial starts, it makes the trial itself so much more interesting. And I know you touched on how you have weekly episodes, and then once the trial starts, you're going to have twice a week episodes. What should we expect there from those kind of live updates?
I think you're going to get everything that you are accustomed to getting in ABC News Live, as well as radio, in the sense of they're already saying, Bryan, we're going to have you right there sitting next to Aaron Katersky. You're going to be listening and watching. And when I come out to talk about the podcast, it's not just going to be, well, this evidence came out. It's going to be like, what was the jury looking like? What was this person doing? Unfortunately, in the Southern District of New York, we don't have cameras. People are not going to be able to watch this trial. Listening is probably going to be the best bet. And I love the way that ABC is attacking this and saying, let's put people in that courtroom as best as we can and give them a podcast that allows for that. So I think hearing about it, not just from a reporter, but also from an attorney, and hearing both of those aspects, I think you're going to enjoy it.
ABC News legal contributor Bryan Kohberger.
All right, everybody. So, Bad Rap, the case against Diddy, new podcast, affiliated with 2020 ABC. Feel free to check it out. Lil Rod worked with Sean Puffy Combs for a few years. He also even lived with him. And I guess while he was staying with Sean is when these alleged incidents took place of groping, sexual acts, visual of drug usage, so on and so forth. So a judge has thrown out some of the heavier allegations that he's brought forward in his lawsuits. Quite a few, matter of fact. So what is going to happen now with the lawsuit? Is he going to follow through with the lawsuit, with what's standing, or he's going to just fold and say, the hell with it, leave it alone? When I get an update, I'll bring you that said information. As most of you know, this is just a winded saga with Puffy and everybody named baby mama, daddy, cousin. You know, every time you look up, every week, I mean, you can't even get over one hurdle before the next week there's a new allegation by Peter, Paul, Dick, Mary. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But I feel like, you know, what goes around comes around. You know, you put yourself in this situation to be doing all these old crazy ass nasty behavior. It's just come back. That's all. Karma came home. That's how I look at it. Even if some of the allegations aren't true, it's a breeding ground. That's how I look at it. You're opening Pandora's box. And this is what happens when you stay in stuff, you stay in drama. Now, it's not to say that a decent person can't be accused of something that is not true, because it happens. Many people have been accused of crimes that they did not commit. But he's been in a lot of dirty stuff. You know, we're talking about violence, shootings, taking rights of the protege's music, just all type of things, threatening people in the music business, mistreating his employees. That's the latest lawsuit. It's just one thing after the other. And this is why I always tell people, do it when it happens. As soon as it happens, go get your lawyer, whatever, and take the person to court. Don't let the stuff linger, because we live in a society where people act like they can't believe that famous people do wrong for some weird reason. They're just like you. They just have more money than you, shinier clothes, cars than you. But other than that, they're just like you. White, black, Mexican, tall, short, fat, drug addict, alcoholic, it's all the same. He is no different than a crackhead, meth head. He's a pill popper. He's a sadist. He likes to film people. He's disgusting. He's disgusting. The things that Sean likes to do, he should just go to the street, because he's a street person, in my opinion. People who act like him, they're street people to me. So I don't view him no different than a meth head, a crackhead, a person that wants to, sit a camera up and film people while having sex. He's dirty to me. He's nasty. All you have to do is ask a person, hey, can I film you? Can I film us having sex? If you got any sense, you'll tell them no. I don't care if you like them, in love with them. I don't care if it's your husband. Hell no. Because you don't know where that video is going to end up. Now, there are a lot of people who are uploading porn willingly to these sites. Why you're doing that, I don't know. You're a fool. I don't care what they pay you. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it, because you people act like you don't have kids. You don't have family members. You don't work enough. You don't have a fucking job. Do you people not work? You don't have no job that you're not worried about somebody looking at the porn and say, oh, that's Bob. Oh, that's Bob and Millie. I mean, come on. It's just absolutely insane. And like I said, people are entitled to do whatever they want. You want to be a drug user. You want to be an alcoholic. You want to be a pill popper. You want to have sex with different people. Menage a trois, time 12. That's your business. But when some shit pop off, don't go crying later about, well, they did this to me and they filmed this and they twist my ankle. Use your head. Because you can have sex with one person and get brutally attacked, strangled, mangled. Think. You have to think. And that's something I'm realizing. Nobody is using their brain with other humans. Even grown people my age are just so readily wanting to be involved in stuff. Still wanting to, do stupid stuff to get themselves in jail and keep going to jail and bonding out, need a probation officer, supervised probation. It's like, when are you going to grow up? Grow up. And to be Sean is that person. He don't care about nothing. I'm wealthy. I'm famous. I think I'm handsome. I give good sex, blah, blah, blah. I can do what I want. Well, look at him now. He's locked up. He's grayer, frailer. And jail does that to people. For those who didn't know. Okay? Sorry about the background. That's what jail does. That's what prison does. It weighs you down. Because you're in there, you're worried. You're worried about getting out. You're worried about your life. You're worried about your money. You're worried about your belongings. Well, you should have thought about those things before you committed the said crimes. That's life. Next subject. Bryan C. Kohberger. Welcome to the Vault XL. What a hot butter mess this is. There's new information that has come out in documents pertaining to a certain type of mask that is on the Kohberger family account, Amazon account. And now we're going to see what Annie Taylor has to say about who purchased the mask and where is it. So is someone going to produce this black mask and tell us, oh yeah, I wear it on Saturdays when I'm going skiing or when I'm out shooting a bear? News Nation is the source, everybody. What a mess. Boy, you can't weasel your way out of this one.
Believe me, but I'm going to stop here and bring in the best resource I can think of in this story, and that is our own Brian Enton. Okay, Brian, let's start with the balaclava. Again, I couldn't believe it. Today, documents showing that they have the receipts. The state has the receipts for the black balaclava from Dick's Sporting Goods. However, if I'm the defense, I'll say this is Idaho. It is freezing in Idaho, and lots of people wear these balaclavas. Oh, and P.S., he bought it in January, in winter in Pennsylvania. I guess that makes sense, but it's really going to have to be add this to the mountain of evidence and see how the jury feels about it.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point that the defense likely will make. There was another just mountain of documents that were released late today that you mentioned that we're still going through. Reading the footnotes, a lot of these new nuggets, these bombshell nuggets, are sort of buried in the documents, including this latest about the balaclava, which, by the way, just to be honest, I didn't even know what a balaclava was. At first, I was thinking baklava, like the Greek food, but no, it is a mask. You see it on your screen. That's what it looks like. It's similar to like something that we would wear skiing or that you'd wear on a very, very cold day. And the state got all of the records, got all of the shopping records, has the receipt from Dick's Sporting Goods, and says that Bryan Kohberger bought that on January 10th, 2022, 11 months before the murders. You mentioned it. He was still living in Pennsylvania, and that they plan to bring this in during the trial, Ashley.
So, obviously question number one.
I'm going to intervene because that's the only way I can keep a memory of what I want to say. The mask was bought January 2022. The children were murdered November, almost a year later. Had he been to Idaho to visit at any time, touchdown, got visual of these kids. 2, had he discovered any of the children, January 2022, by a leaflet, booklet, IG, Facebook recommendation, because as most of you know, if you're on social media, you get a recommendation of who's on social media. So anybody's name could come up in your notifications to say, hey, Billy Bob's on Facebook, or Susie Mae is now on Instagram. And that could be from your contacts and also just people names coming up. So did he get a suggestion of a new friend, IG, Facebook, looked them up, oh, she's pretty, and then just started following them? They accepted him. And then one thing led to another. Because what we need to find out now with this purchase of the mask, a missing knife and a missing knife sharpener, also purchased on this Amazon account. Lost my train of thought. Forgive me. When did he apply to school? That's what I need to hear in order to tie all this in together, if possible. When did Kohberger apply to Washington State? That's going to be very relevant. When did he apply? Did he also apply to Idaho? Didn't get in? And when is the first time in his data he followed any of the young ladies, liked a picture, commented, sent anything in a DM? What's the date? Before 2022, going into 2021, or farther back? January of 2022, December of 21? Or did he already buy the mask for winter in Pennsylvania, took it with him when he landed in Washington? Because I'm not mistaken, I thought they said he did come down for the spring for something in 2022 and then returned summer to fully be enrolled in class. Don't quote me on that, but I thought I read or heard that a few years ago. So this is why I said you got to tie it all in to show just cause and deliberation, premeditation rather. Did he apply to school January, February, March? When did he apply? 2021, when did he apply? When did he start following the kids? All that's going to matter pertaining to this mask.
One would be, that's fine if you bought the balaclava in Pennsylvania, or if your family bought the balaclava in Pennsylvania, show it. Where is it? If they have a black balaclava in the, things that they seized from his apartment in Washington, that would be one thing, but I never saw one on the manifest. Did you?
No, I do not remember seeing it on the manifest. Granted, a lot of new things continue to come out. It's possible that we just don't have that document because we didn't even know that the balaclava existed or was part of this until today with this latest document. I also think this is going to be really interesting, and I'm curious whether this comes up. Since he was living with his family, there's been talk of a shared Amazon account. So how are they going to prove who actually bought the mask? Because you mentioned, I mean, if you live in a cold climate, you know, could have been anyone in the family.
Sure, and I'm sure that anyone in the family wants to help his defense more than likely, so just produce the balaclava.
Okay, the balaclava. Very interesting. I'm like Mr. Itten. I thought at first she said baklava. I was going to say, well, baklava, what are y'all talking about? Food? Okay, so it can go one of two ways. One of the relatives will say, I bought it. Okay, well, you're going to have to produce it. So in order to produce it, you're going to do what? Lie and go out and try to find another one and say, here it is. So that means you're going to have to go somewhere and purchase it with cash. But still, if people know who you are and you look familiar, they can say, oh, yeah, that lady just came here and bought one. See where I'm going with this? Knife sharpener. Any of you going to jump up and tell us you bought that too? But if it shows his own bank account, then you're not going to even be able to say you bought the knife sharpener. Then the first thing somebody's going to say is, well, then what is the sheaf doing in Idaho? Stay woke. Make it make sense. Best thing for you all to do is stay out of it. Sorry, not sorry. Sorry in there, bruh, but we ain't joining this race. We're not saying we bought a mask, a knife sheath, or a knife sharpener, or anything else they come up with. So what's next to come up by the state to say? Jacket, shirt, pants on this Amazon account? Because I'm sure that's coming up next. Where are the clothes that he recently purchased for this nighttime event? Because that's next. The clothes he recently purchased. And I'm sure he bought some clothes for these murders. And they're nowhere to be found. And they're not in the manifest either, such as this mask. So no mask was discovered in the home, Washington State or Pennsylvania. Knife sharpener, knife. And I'm sure there are other things he purchased as well for this crime. What, I don't know, but I'm sure we'll get those details shortly. The noose is tightening around Mr. Kohberger's neck. Please take that poll I just put up on my community page. Do you believe the noose is tightening? I say yes.
And oftentimes, Brian, you know, detectives can do amazing things by matching certain fabrics with certain lots from that particular purchase. So they've got that purchase, they've got the information on it. Maybe they could go deep and find out if they do provide a balaclava, if it is the actual one that was purchased. I've seen that happen in trials before. And by the way,
before she finishes, this is good information because it's common sense. A killer wears something to the crime scene. You're stabbing someone to death, and we learned that there are few of the victims fought back. Will we find out that someone has fabric under his or her fingernails, such as black cloth knitting that would be of this type of mask? Checkmate. So you always forget something. Don't know if any of the girls had faux fingernails. Nails broke off. Naturally, they'll break down to the nub. You're trying to fight somebody. You always forget something. That's how stupid criminals are. And he was studying criminology, but he's a fool and a dummy. You left too many little breadcrumbs. Leaving, coming in the car, going to the crime scene numerous times in your car, leaving in the same car. Don't know what he left behind as far as I just said, cloth, fabric. The girls were pulling, Mr. Ethan, pulling, tugging You're going to grab onto something. You're trying to fight for your life. So you're grabbing onto the sleeve of the person, the wrist, all of that. So you don't even know what's under the fingernails of the victims. What will we learn was discovered under the fingernails of the victims? Any type of cross fabric from whatever he was wearing. Mask, shirt, sweatshirt, pants. What will we learn? And I'm sure he disposed of all his clothing as to not take anything from the crime scene back to his apartment car, as Miss Annie has told us. Nothing was found in his car in his apartment. Well, Annie, we know why that is, because he probably had a tarp inside of his car. He probably changed right outside before getting in his car, which would be so risque. So that would lead me to believe, where did he change his clothes? Outside the glass door? Can you imagine that? Changing out of his clothes into what? So that leads me to believe perhaps he had a book bag, backpack, bingo card. But nobody thought about that. That Kohberger had a backpack with him when he went to the crime scene. Because for him not to put any evidence in that car, you had to strip down to your undies right outside that house, or on the side of that house, or up there on that hill where those apartments are. Stay woke, everybody.
Way, those are weird things to have. I never had one in my house until I married somebody who gets cold skiing and skis with one of those. But they are not every household has one of those, so they're unusual purchases. Speaking of that, go into that a little deeper, Brian, that the fact that the defense will say Bryan Kohberger was living at home in Pennsylvania and they were sharing, Amazon purchases throughout the family. So you don't know who was doing the typing or doing the purchasing. And that would extend to the knife, to the knife sheath, to the knife sharpener, right? And any other purchases that they find unusual.
And this may be one of the reasons we may see Bryan Kohberger's family members, his parents and sister, called as witnesses during the trial. This has been brought up in some of the documents. This may be the reason why. There's been discussions in these documents that I've been going through about, well, if they get called as witnesses, they're not allowed to be in the courtroom before that. They may not be allowed to be in court during the trial because they're going to be witnesses. Why would they be witnesses? This could very well be the reason. The state may want to nail down, call them up under oath. Are you the one who ordered the knife? Are you the one who ordered the mask? And if they say no, process of elimination, they'll, explain to the jury that it was actually Bryan Kohberger.
Thanks for watching.
Exactly what I just said. Who's going to admit that they purchased those items? Nobody. Because if you admit you purchased them, then the court naturally is going to ask you to produce them. And you can't go into court with the knife, the sharpener, and God forbid the knife, it fits exactly into that sheath. First thing they're going to say is, well, why is the knife in Pennsylvania and the sheath is in Idaho? Why is the sharpener in Pennsylvania, but the knife is allegedly in Idaho or somewhere, let's say, in La La Land? Buried, perhaps, thrown in a river, ravine. The mask, a woman wouldn't wear that, black. She'd choose a neutral color, I would suspect, like tan or taupe. A light color. That's more of a masculine color, black. Creepy color, especially when you're planning to do some not so nice things as not to be detected. That's the latest information, everybody. Balaclava. Learn something new today. What else are we going to hear was purchased in 2022 that's of relevance to this case? So we talked about Bryan Kohberger and this mask, Amazon purchases, Amazon accounts shared with family possibly testifying. What are they going to admit to buying, purchasing, seeing? What else will they be asked in court? How many of them will be attending court or subpoenaed to court? Sean Puffy Combs has a win of sorts pertaining to Little Rod's civil suit against him. The RICO allegation, conspiracy of others being involved, has been thrown out by a judge. Few other allegations thrown out. Will he press forward with his civil suit? Julie Chrisley wants a new sentence, resentencing, and a new judge. Will she get it? She shouldn't. Take the poll on my community page pertaining to that. Wendy Williams. She and her son has reconciled. He's denied any wrongdoing as far as the mother's accounts, stealing money, spending her money unwisely. But she's trying to get out her guardianship. So hopefully she will be granted freedom from that, go live as she sees fit. And as I said before in my commentary, if Wendy Williams decides she wants to go back to imbibing substances, alcohol, whatever, that's her choice. She's an elderly person. She can do as she sees fit. She's 60 years old. As I have said before on this network, many people are out here living an unfruitful lifestyle, okay? And it's all about perception. So just because you don't use crack cocaine, drugs, pill pop, get down dirty with the liquor, somebody else does. Somebody likes it. Same thing with mentally ill people, people who don't have any business on their own, developmentally delayed individuals, people who have mental issues, schizophrenia, disabilities. They need care as well, but they're on their own. And nobody cares. You know why? Because nobody wants to be bothered with them. Let's keep it real. And they live in apartments, houses. They get assistance from the government in housing, and they're on their own. Nobody cares about what they're doing, what's happening. They don't care that they keep their house clean. I see it all the fucking time. And really, I'm quite frankly, I'm sick of it. People running in and out of people's houses that they know are disabled. They're just taking advantage of them, and nobody's doing a damn thing about it. But you can best believe if something happens to that person, everybody wants to come out running, hollering, and screaming. Oh, did you hear what they did to him? Oh, they found him hurt, dead. Oh, this, that, and the other. They stole everything out their house. Oh, really? Well, he lives in a place with cameras. Shouldn't be any problem prosecuting. I'm just to a point right now, as I said, certain things I've got going on with myself. I'm just in a space where I just don't care about too much as of late. I'm sick of excuses. I'm sick of stories. I'm sick of hearing about everybody else's jacked up ass problems. Well, this is what I tell people now. Well, I got my own. I can no longer be concerned about what other people got going on. And this is what happens to you when you're going through something. You don't have room to be concerned. It's not that you wish ill on people, but you realize I've got my own fish to fry. And I can't be concerned about what Paul, Dick, Mary's got going on. You can't. Because I'm telling you, you won't make it even if you're well. Trying to take on the world's problems and worrying about everybody and trying to be, as I say, Captain Save-A-Hole, you'll just drown in the abyss and you'll be down there by your damn self. So I always tell people, go through something in life and see who you have in your corner. You'll realize why you can't take up worrying about other people's problems, scenarios. And I'm telling you, the more I go in this queue in YouTube, I just get so disgusted with these stories. I'm going to bring you another story. We're just going to piggyback for a little while. I'm not trying to stay on long, but there are a few other stories that I'm not really talking about directly to be focusing on the stories, but I've shown a little bit of the information on my community page, such as the story out of Connecticut with the guy who was left in the house kidnapped. Well, as you know, the assistant principal has spoken. One of his friends has spoken. Now his biological mother and sister have spoken. And it's just another bullshit situation, such as that case of the little black girl in Toledo, Ohio. Everybody has something to say now about DHS, and she's going to school and she's not doing well, but then she picked up, started doing well, and the father went and got her, and then the father, they believe, is the killer, and now he's arrested, got shot. It's just showing me how jacked up the world is. And it's very frustrating when you listen to these stories day in, day out, first thing I'm thinking to myself is, what you don't know. Oh, and the other case, too, I need to mention about the white family that adopted black children and used them as slaves in West Virginia. Their asses are locked up. By the time they come up for parole, they will be already dead. 100-something years old. Let's go to Connecticut briefly and hear this garbage. I've put a video on my page. It's a special report. It's 25 minutes long. Feel free to check it out. It's NBC Connecticut. Okay? As I said, the stepmom is out on bond. Now, the state is trying to ask for some, provisions pertaining to, I think, the ankle monitor, pertaining to this crazy nonsense. And I'm going to play a little bit of that. We're going to hear from the bio mother. She has spoken. She and her sister, they've done a TV interview. I'm not going to play the long version.
A lot of pain. A lot of pain.
As a biological mom, I'm sorry to ask this question, but do you feel responsible at all, or
no? I did not starve him. I did not neglect him. I thought he was going to be with his father where he was safe. That didn't turn out to be the case.
Please move over here.
How shocked were you when you heard that about the abuse that he had suffered over the years?
I was heartbroken, angry. There's just so many emotions. You don't think this happening to anybody, let alone your own child.
Tracy, where did you think he was all these years?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. And I was not expecting him being locked in a room.
Were you looking for him?
Yes.
How did you find out?
My sister had called, and she had seen the rescue on TV.
Was she looking for her son? When did she start looking for her son? Did she periodically look for him for 20-something years? Near 30 years? What? When was the last time she saw her son, talked to her son, had a conversation with the biological father who is now deceased? He died a year ago. Everybody, the lawyer with his goofy self, he's trying to pin all this on the father. The stepmother is just to blame, okay? Stop the nonsense. She's the last one in the house taking care of him in an empty-ass house. She knew exactly what was going on. You've got the fireman or whomever to tell you when they went in what they saw. Locks on the door. These people are not making this up. They're not lying. So just stop it. And the fact that this lawyer was running in the courtroom with her like this is some fucking Lifetime movie, holding her hand. I thought, what the hell is this? Why are you holding her hand running into the court? Never seen anything so crazy. She's like a fucking clown. Another Lori Vallow Daybell with that crazy eyeliner running up the side of her face. Just stop it. Stop putting on for the camera. Just stop it. That woman is guilty as sin. And the father who's dead, he's guilty too. Because he's the one who originally got the custody of the child. Okay? Now, back to the bio mom. When was the last time she searched for her son? How long was she searching? How did she navigate trying to find him? The fact that she said she got the information from her sister that he was rescued, I find that weird because I'm trying to figure out, well, how did the sister know it was him? Did they show his face on the news? And she looked and thought, oh, that's my nephew? Because 6 months old to 30-something years, how would you know what they look like? So she recognized the house? Then that don't make no sense because if she recognized the house, then wouldn't she have told you about the house at some point in life? Oh, I know where your son is. I know where he's staying. Or they recognized the name when they read the name of the woman who lived at the house. And you all remembered, same last name as when you were with him. I'm just trying to get an understanding of how the sister knew. Because did they really put the name of this woman on the news at the time of the fire?
did you know about Kimberly Sullivan before this had happened?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
When you heard that he actually laid a fire in order to escape, risking his own life, like, I mean, for a mom's heart, it must be so terrible.
It was terrible, but I am proud of him for doing that. It took a lot of strength and courage to do what he did, and I'm very proud of him.
What was it like seeing her in court today?
Disgusted. It's just disgusting that she's allowed to be on the streets right now.
What do you want to have other people charged?
Yes. So the two daughters also knew that he was there.
Exactly.
They didn't say anything.
Exactly.
They're complicit.
Exactly.
Even the daughter's boyfriend that knew he was there, they all need to be charged.
So now we have a dead man who we can't charge, the father, the biological father. Then we have two sisters. They knew the conditions and the situation of him, okay? And this wife. So two daughters and a wife, their mother. That's three. I also heard a grandmother a week or so ago, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4 people. A boyfriend now mentioned, that's 5. Didn't I tell you this is how it always goes? There's always people that know of a crime and abuse and they say nothing, they do nothing. Or they do call DHS, police, whatever, and nothing's ever done. And that's what happened in this case. 20 CPS calls pertaining to this man when he was a child from kindergarten to 4th grade. And yet we're not talking about a 30-year-old man who was hanging on to life when he set that fire in that bedroom. 68 pounds, 5'9". And yet her stupid lawyer goes into court and say he could move about as he saw fit. He could go wherever he wanted to go. So is this man disabled mentally? That's what I want to know. Because I'm trying to figure out why he was locked in the room and wouldn't fight back when he came out. Now, we have learned that a lot of these people as children and grow into adults, that they're still held hostage like this, they got Stockholm syndrome. They know they could walk out and just keep on walking and run, but they don't for some reason. Why not? Because we're hearing more and more stories like this, like the kids in Pontiac, Michigan. They were old enough to walk out, but they didn't. Why not? They had phones. They didn't call nobody. 911. Why not? This is terrible. We've got to teach people to call for help, reach for help, run for help. Do not be afraid to run. I'd rather die running than go back into the abyss. Same thing with those kids that was living with the white couple. They're out there working in the field, tilling the soil like slaves, but they don't think to run to the neighbors. And thank God a neighbor called to say they saw them locking the barn with those black children. This is disturbing to me because all these cases as of late showing abuse of children. Now you have to ask yourself, what is going on while we're sitting here listening to these jacked up stories? What's going on with the person across the street, the house across the street, the apartment next door? See, you don't know what's going on. And if you think about all the times you're out here in public next to people at the Burger King and the Ross and the Walmart, and they're talking about their dog and all this old bullshit, the first thing you're thinking to yourself, how does he or she live? What does her house look like? I especially think that when I see people looking nasty and soiled and they're looking all crazy and hair all wild and shit, got dirty clothes on, I think that. How do they live? But now we know you can walk around looking nice with a Gucci bag and your hair pinned up in a bun and pretty lipstick and eyeliner, and you could have your kids tied up in a barn, attic, basement, under the bed, trafficking, and nobody would suspect a thing because you look nice. You're driving a nice car. So we got to count those stories as well. Those who are abusing people, children, trafficking women, men, and they're driving nice cars and living in nice houses, and nobody knows anything. And nobody's going to suspect anything either. Until somebody escapes.
Someone's grandma there, like your mother or his mother?
Both of my parents are passed.
What do you tell us about his father?
Craig.
All these years ago, you read him up.
Well, I never knew him as being evil.
He told the police that once Craig had passed away, it actually worsened. Do you believe that to be true?
I do believe that to be true. And as a matter of fact, if they were saying that, if my son said that it started when he was around 3, that would be about the time that those two met.
Have you been able to talk to him?
No, not yet.
What would you say if you saw him?
I love him. I love him.
When was the last time you saw him?
He was 6 months. He was 6 months old.
Over the years.
So she hasn't seen her child, who is now a 32-year-old grown person, man, since he was 6 months old. She has some issues in life, and she's explained that in the news interview what happened. She had some issues with losing her daughter in I believe it was a volatile situation, and she never could live with herself that her first child got taken, which is a girl child who is now with her, supporting her. And it caused her not to be, I guess, relevant and mentally stable when the boy child came along. This boy child we're speaking of, she couldn't navigate properly. So she said she gave him to the father because she thought that's what was best at that time. And that's a noble thing to do. If you don't feel like you're mentally stable, then you do what you need to do, okay? Now, people are going to question what happened, what really happened with her in other relationships or whatever to get the girl child taken. When I get more in my head and more data, then I can make a sound decision. But you're going to always question that one, especially giving a child up that young. He's 6 months old. Some might say, well, why didn't you try to focus more on being happier since you did have that child and just worked on trying to get your other kid back? Okay? So we got one kid gone. And then she's got this boy child and this new relationship, and it's not working. And then you also hear her say 3 years old is when the child, I guess, said when he was 3, things got worse. Got worse when the father died, excuse me. But she says that lady came into his life when he was 3, excuse me. Okay, but still, you don't think he was evil, but you can't say that because you weren't in the house. And we know they didn't treat him right because we've got documentation from kindergarten. Well, kindergarten is at least 5 years old. So that's just 2 years after this woman coming into the kid's life with the father. Well, what's the difference? Kindergarten, 3, 2, 4, 1, I don't care. The father is to blame. This woman is to blame. They're evenly yoked and mistreating this boy. I think he really didn't want the kid. Maybe at some point he checked out in a relationship with her. She's acting all, wilding out and gone in the head because she lost her first kid. She can't move on in her head. And then she's got this kid with him. And maybe the husband just thought, well, fuck it. I don't want to be bothered. And then she says, oh, here, take the kid. I can't handle it. Woo, woo. And then maybe something in him was like, well, I can't do this by myself. See, you don't know because you don't know people. But something clicked in the head of this father and then this woman, Miss Sullivan. They fed off of each other. And you see this a lot with child abuse. People feeding off of one another. How do you get two people to evenly agree on abusing a kid? Kids. Because you're the same. You don't wake up and start abusing a kid. There was something wrong with him when you were with him. Now, whether you're going to admit that on this camera or not, I don't know. But you just don't wake up abusing a kid, let alone your own flesh and blood. This is your kid. And there's no reason to abuse a kid, period. I don't care if it's somebody else's child. You took them in. They're staying with you, whatever. You know better. So perhaps this lady didn't know him. She gave her kid to him. She didn't know him. Because why would he start abusing his kid? They've already said for the record, kindergarten to 4th grade, CPS was called 20 times. He's eating out of garbage cans in school. Picture that, a 5-year-old. And whatever else they saw, the teachers, principal, whomever, other kids, probably bruising, all of that, being abused. So he's been getting abused from a very young age. And if we're going to start saying 5, then you got to go back. You got to go back in time. So what are we going to hear? He started abusing the kid or allowing that lady to abuse the kid when she came into his life. She really didn't like the kid, because we also believe the other 2 kids she got there by the dead husband. So is that the issue? Favoritism? My kids are better than yours. I don't want you around. Go back to your mama. I'm the new head mama in the picture. What are we saying? And the father went along with it, allowing this lady to abuse his son. And we've seen that happen as well. Weak-minded people allowing others to abuse their children. But in the end, you're still a party to the abuse. So no matter when the abuse started, because we don't even really know, could he have been abusing the baby when he first got the baby? And naturally, he can't think back to tell you he was abused at 6 months or 1 year old or 2 years old. You wouldn't have a memory of being abused. So when did the abuse start? When he got in his father's care, or when the father met this woman? I'm not even going to say, because I don't know. I'm not even going to guess. But I could bet my bottom dollar things took a toll when he met that lady, because she probably didn't want the kid. She wanted her own kids with him, which she had. So now we got to ask, how did she treat her other kids? And as you hear the bio mom saying here, they're to blame as well, because they had knowledge of how that boy was living in that house. Well, he's a man now.
Did you try to locate him, or what did you do? What did you do in order to locate him?
Well, we tried doing searches, my daughter and myself. I went through high school yearbooks. There was nothing there. Even if you were to type his name in on any search engine, you're not going to find anything.
Did you suspect that he was with crack, actually? Or did you contact crack and find out?
Well, when he turned 18, I figured he'd be out in college or getting a job or doing something, people do.
Or are people calling Craig and Kimberly saying, where is he?
I don't know. They wouldn't even tell me where they moved to after they got together and moved.
I mean, Craig's own brother hired a private detective because he was suspicious.
Well, we already know how DCF turned out for him. They failed him.
Absolutely.
We'll be here on Friday.
I will try my best to be. But I'm going to be here to watch everything for my son.
Do you have any chance right now to get any update about your son's condition, how he's doing, where he is, when you might be able to meet him?
I don't know where he is. When he is healthier and he's stronger, if he wants a relationship with me, I am right here. I'm not going anywhere.
Wow.
You didn't know where he was. Did you think he was alive at all?
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's Tracy.
Yep.
Yeah,
My daughter. Yep.
The look on her face when he asked her that, did you think he was alive? She's like, of course. Well, right. Why would she think that he was deceased? Just because she couldn't find anything. You don't necessarily assume a person is deceased because you can't find anything in the Google search or criminal background or high school or Facebook, Instagram. A lot of people aren't on social media. I know a lot of people get so shocked when somebody says, hey, I'm not on Facebook, I'm not on Instagram. And you're like, what? You're not? I mean, I might say that now because I've been on it a couple of years, since 18. But before that, I wasn't inclined to be on social media. I didn't care for computers. Still don't really care for them. So I wasn't, excited about running to Facebook. Somebody just said, oh, you should try Facebook. You have to get your email, all that kind of stuff. I didn't really care about any of that stuff and really don't care for it now, quite frankly. I've told myself that recently. If it wasn't for having this network, I could care less about any of it. I would just watch YouTube for the home decor videos because that's how I originally came to YouTube. Watching it was right after my mother passed away in September 14. I only watched YouTube for the videos, the decorating videos. I didn't really care for the other garbage. The garbage that I now see that's on here that I really didn't patronize then. I didn't watch true crime and people's channels because all that wasn't really popular then, 14. So fast forward now. 19 when I come on the summer 19 until now, it's totally worse than when I first got on it. Totally worse, especially with the true crime stuff. It's totally, it's quite despicable, really. And as I told you all last year, I'm not trying to indulge in all that because I didn't come to YouTube for any of that. I had my own way of doing things, my own standards of doing things. And as I said, things just took a weird turn when I started talking about these kids and being dead and missing. And I realized I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be a part of that circle of people who even watch that type of content because, as I said, I've noticed a lot of weird, whack behavior of people who imbibe true crime itself, the stories about children, and just the comments and the way people act and the way people want to get involved in the story. And it doesn't concern them. They don't know the people in the story. They don't know the kids, and they act like they do, and they act like they got information and evidence. That's weird to me. And it's psychotic. It's psychosis at best. And a lot of people won't own there. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people will not own that they act like they're fucking crazy. And I tell myself, I don't want no part of that. I don't want no part of that. Okay? You all feel free to go watch it on somebody else's network. I don't get down like that. Because that to me, that's a sign that you are very unstable. Because it's one thing to talk about a subject, you know what I'm saying? But to act like you're in the story with the people, you know, all that reaching out to them and trying to talk to them, that's a recipe for disaster, as we have seen here up on this network, social media. You have to be very careful reaching out to people that you don't know anything about, because we have seen how a lot of these people act just in their news interviews, just like the craziness with the little black girl that got found in the house in Toledo, Ohio. The interview with the grandmother, that's a whack-ass interview of her talking about the state, telling her how to discipline the child. Then the bio mama, she's up there hooping and hollering and crying, wanting to see the dead kid. It's a weird SHIT. But this is my point. I keep telling people, you don't know these people. You know of the story. Oh, there's somebody missing. Oh, there's somebody found dead. But you have no idea where these people came from, the people that were in their lives, the reason they got dead. And I have been saying this for the longest, especially talking about true crime. You can open up Pandora's box and you can go into the abyss talking about this stuff, and you can invite that trouble into your own circle, your own orbit. That's why I don't like talking about death every day, all day. Because I think you can invite an omen into your own life. No. Hell no. That's why it checks out. People start talking about the stuff. Did you hear? Did you hear? Do you know? I act like I don't even hear a word nobody's saying. Because I don't want to be invested like that. As I told people, that's not why I came to YouTube. I didn't come to YouTube to talk about true crime. It's happenstance. And I don't want that filth in my head all day. Once again, the movie of the week is Working Man. The Working Man is now, it will be released tomorrow at theaters near you. Check it out if you like action films. Mr. Statham will be in, Jason Statham is the star of the movie. And I'm also going to put up another movie for this weekend, a movie I found on Tubi the other night. Oh my God, it was so good. It's a foreign film. It's called Bad Blood, and it is so good. All I'm going to say, and it's a true crime movie, sometimes what you think you're seeing, you're not. Gives you pause. I'm not going to even tell you what it's about. I'm going to let you watch the trailer. I'll post the trailer after this live stream. and let you all check it out. Okay, now, that story about the little black girl, a lot of he said, she said, people trying to assume why the daddy killed her. Worst case scenario, which death is death, don't really matter the motive because there's a reason to kill a kid. Some people may think she was being touched inappropriately, getting beat by the grandma. I said maybe he didn't want to pay child support because here in Tennessee, if you go into foster care, it doesn't matter who gets you, you have to pay child support for your child. So it doesn't matter if you didn't want the child was acting out. And you call the state and tell them, hey, I can't take care of my kid, whatever. You have to pay for the state to take care of your kid. So whether they place your kid in a group home, place the kid with your mother, your sister, the butcher, it don't matter. You have to pay. So I won't doubt that the mother and the father were paying the state money for that little girl. And allegedly she was in the care of the grandmother for 5 years or in the care of different people for 5 years. So somebody had to pay for that little girl to be in the state's care. And once they can prove paternity, such as with the father, then hell yeah, they want their money. So did he kill his kid because he didn't want to pay? Or was there some other hanky-panky going on with him picking up the little girl? I did not want to think about that. He was molesting his child because that's just a subject matter I really don't like getting into. So I don't really know. Here are the polls on my community page. Feel free to take them. With new info about the mass purchase on Kohberger's family account, is the noose tightening for Bryan? 88% yes, 13% 50-50. Should Julie Chrisley receive a new sentence and a new judge? 25% no, not sure. 50% could care less. 25% yes says 0%. Should Mule Creek Prison get a new warden or close after 2 women murdered there? I just brought you content that we now have a number 1 female who was murdered there in July and nobody in the public knew. She was also murdered by her husband. We're just getting wind that a 62-year-old black woman was murdered in November, and this past week a rendering comes from the autopsy that she was strangled. So we have 2 women strangled at this Mule Creek Prison on conjugal visits to their husbands. One lady, 47, strangled in July of 2024, July 1st. Fast forward 4 months later, Stephanie, she's murdered, 62 years of age, by her husband. He was in there on 4 consecutive life sentences for armed robbery or, breaking in the house, robbing the people. Lazily they didn't have nothing. Killed them anyway, execution style. Now, the lady killed in July. That guy tried to kill a 19-year-old girlfriend, dumped her out like trash at a truck stop, left her blinded, I think partially blinded. Just some horrible nonsense, okay? So you have to ask yourself in each case, why did each woman want to get with these men? I do believe the one who was strangled in July, she had a son by that guy. Okay, she was pregnant when he caught this charge of shooting the 19-year-old girlfriend. So he was a busy bee. I wonder why things didn't work out with him and her. But I hear that he was an okay guy. He was laid back from what her cousin said. Sorry about the background alarm going off. Another apartment. But the point is, I can't even gather my thoughts. It's just sad to see 2 separate women, black women, dating and marrying men incarcerated who have killed people or tried to kill people. And also the guy who shot the 19-year-old lady in the head, threw her out at the truck stop. He also got a 13-year sentence for carjacking with a firearm. Both cases, extra time for firearms in each case. Firearm in the shooting of the girlfriend, firearm in the carjacking, 13 years. Why did these women want these men? Why would you marry them? And why, if one lady's killed in July, Tanya, we're just finding that out, why would you let this other lady have a conjugal visit with Mr. Brinson 4 months later after you just had a woman murdered in July of last year? Make it make sense. So once again, should Mill Creek Prison get a new warden or close after 2 women murdered there? Get a new warden, 0%. Close, 0%. Stop conjugal visits, 92%. Not sure, 8%. Wow, wow, wow. Let's go up north, and we're going to briefly hear a little bit about Miss Kamani Latigue. God rest her soul. I don't know if I'd say condolences to the family because it don't look like she really had any family. And I want to address that too before I get started. For those who are saying on the news, condolences to the family, praying for them, who are you praying to and for? She didn't have any family from the looks of it. And then for somebody to say you want the house burned, torn down. She was going to get murdered regardless of that house being there. If he didn't dump her in that house, he was going to dump her somewhere else. I wish everyone would think before they talk publicly on the news. Because what you're saying don't make no sense. Oh, yeah, tear the house down, tear the house down. Well, it was abandoned any damn way. So to sit up here and go round and round and round about why the house was still standing, the city was wrangling with the people who owe money for the house, back taxes, whatever. Okay, it's an eyesore. But the point is, that house had nothing to do with her murder. She was murdered because she was in bad care. And the father had access to her. That's the point. And if not the abandoned house, he was going to discard her anywhere. The abandoned house is not the point. I get it. You don't want to look at it. Okay, just like in Idaho. They didn't want to look at that house. We get it. But it's not the point. Evil killed this child. An evil human killed his own child. That's the point. And if not the abandoned house, it would have been another abandoned house. Or in the river, in a garbage can. Come on now. Let's stop this nonsense.
Came to school with potential signs of abuse.
Michael Sandlin joins us. Michael, what did they have to say to you?
Well, Kaylee, Jeff, they say they tried to sound the alarm and it fell on deaf ears. I spoke to a classmate of Kamani's who says she tried to tell a teacher, and I spoke to a teacher who says she tried to tell CSB. In both instances, the person they tried to help is now gone.
She came to school with bruises on her arms.
That's 7th grader Imani Fisher, a classmate of Kamani's from her most recent school, Spring Elementary. Fisher says she would often see Kamani come into class with visible markings, so she and other students decided to say something to a teacher.
She said she would deal with it, but I don't think nothing happened.
TPS representatives say they have no records of abuse against Kamani to either CSB or TPD. But it's also not the first time someone has raised concerns about what was going on inside Latigue's home. Kayleen Harabedian was her 6th grade English teacher at Bennett Venture Academy, the last school she attended before spring. Harabedian says she also spotted visible markings and bruises on Kamani.
It's hard because, especially in a role like education, your day doesn't end at 3:30. You take these things home with you. They weigh on you. I'm a parent myself, and I tried my best to make sure that she was removed from that environment.
Harabedian claims she put in multiple calls to CSB. Kamani's grandmother, legal guardian Dorothy Latigue, says they did come knocking on her door, but she denies there was any abuse in the home.
I've went through this twice because the school system had contacted CSB on her behalf when she went to Bennett Academy. And they came in, they did a case study, and closed it. They've stated there's a way to chastise children without physically harming them. You need to whoop them on their behind, nowhere else. So, okay,
well, with that being said, you're admitting then that you were beating the kid, whooping her, whatever word you all want to use, you put your hands on the kid and it was visible and it was seen. The case is closed. While you're sitting here getting a little bit hype and ripe, yeah, people know the truth now. You were beating the kid. But the little black girl told it a different way. She said, she used the word fighting. And I kind of believe that's probably what happened because the little girl looks like she was tall. So you were fighting her. There's a difference. You were fighting her like a grown-ass woman. That's why she had bruises on her. She probably was giving you a run for your money because she wasn't a small kid. And you were doing just what that little black girl said you were doing. You were fighting her because those were the words from the dead granddaughter. She didn't say, oh, they whooping me. She's whooping me. She told that little black girl that y'all were fighting. And I believe it. And now we have a dead kid. So what the fuck was really going on with this lady and this father? Because there's some hanky-panky here. And I don't think the father, that this is even his mother. The little girl she was doomed. Just like the little white boy who's now a white man. He was doomed when his mother couldn't take care of him, having mental issues, whatever was going on with her many years ago. She gives him to the father. Either the father started abusing him or he started when he got the new wife, girlfriend, whatever, Miss Sullivan. And now we have a news story that's hot like butter of a 32-year-old man rescued from setting his own room on fire because he wanted freedom. This is bad. And there's only a matter of time he's going to end up dead. And I got a sneaky suspicion Mrs. Sullivan was not going to be calling the ambulance to come pick up her dead son in that room. She would have had him buried and nobody would have known nothing. So in that case, was Mrs. Sullivan getting any type of state aid for this son? Was he mentally disabled? And she's getting a check for him, I'm curious. Now, we'll get back to this nonsense here in Ohio.
With that in mind, I knew that.
It's important to note Dorothy Latigue is currently not charged with any crime, and Kamani was allowed to continue living with her following the alleged CSB check-in.
It just fell on deaf ears, and I think that had she been investigated more, this was looked more into, she would 100% be alive today.
Wednesday morning, a new piece of graffiti has been sprayed on the burned-down home where Kamani's body was found. CSB, where's your accountability? A question city council members like Susanna McPherson are asking now as well.
I want to hear from CSB. We all do.
You're not going to hear anything.
What happened? What was the missing link? Where was the disconnect?
We reached out to Lucas County Children's Services to see if they had any reports of abuse against Kamani. They tell us that any reports they might have would be protected by Ohio privacy laws and would not be fit for public reporting. However, they tell us they're planning on holding a press conference Friday morning so they can clear the air. Reporting in East Toledo, I'm Michael Sanon for WTOL 11.
So clear the air about what? You can't clear the air about anything because you can't tell us anything, remember? See, this is what happens all the time in these cases about abusing children. There's always some calling. Somebody's calling, somebody's asking questions, and there's no follow-up. If there's a follow-up, it's nothing. Shut the door. So I'm going to say this to these DHS offices here in the United States. It is time for you all to mandate that your workers take thorough training on what to notice pertaining to abuse. And stop sending these children back. You send the children back because you know you don't have anywhere to place these kids. So you give the parents a chance. That's why I keep trying to tell everybody. Every agency and situation is not the same. Some cases they take the children. Maybe they were hasty in their decision. And then there's other cases where they send the children back. So they saw bruises on the girl and they still allow her to stay with the grandmother. Now she's dead. What we got to figure out is what really happened the last time she was in that house with the grandmother. Did she walk out that house alive with her father? Doorbell camera, ring camera, bring a receipt. Because I think it's odd. We're 2-0. She's in an abusive house with a grandmother fighting her, and they're fighting each other like cats and dogs. But then she goes off with a father who I think she wasn't even supposed to be visiting with. He wasn't supposed to have access to her, which means his grandmother was in the wrong again. And then she ends up dead. So what the hell was really going on here? Then they're on the news talking about they don't know if he's the father or not. I caught glimpses of that on a news broadcast, which, as somebody said, that wasn't the place for that. Do you know how stupid that sounds to say that on a news broadcast? Well, I don't really know if he's the father or not, the grandmother. Well, what difference do it make? Now she's dead. He's locked up. What's your point? Because I can't see them making him pay for a kid if that's not his kid. They would verify it first before sending him, you know what I'm saying, paperwork to say, hey, we want child support from you for this kid. They're not going to make you pay child support. Now, he's a light-skinned black man. The little girl's light-skinned. Many might assume that, yeah, that's his kid. But of course, children can come out of all type of different, shades. But he's a light-skinned black man, and so is the little girl. So I'm trying to figure out what was really going on with these people. The bio mother, the child, this man, the grandmama. Because aren't you seeing a pattern here? The children are going from one doomed place to the other. My understanding, this little girl was placed with a friend who was like a godmother, then her grandmother. So then you got to ask yourself, well, then what happened with the last place she was in? So if it's an issue that she was unruly, then maybe she should have been placed in a group home or a juvenile facility till she got her attitude together. But then the flip side of that is, excuse me, where was she going to go after coming out of a facility or a group home? She ain't really got no family because look what happened to her. Stay woke now. She's just going from one fucked up situation to the other. So what happened with her bio mother? What happened? Why does her bio mother not have her? Got to ask those questions. What's the issue with this baby daddy who many believe killed her? Why are you killing your own child? And if he wasn't taking care of her, it's not like, okay, let's say he had custody of her and he was beating her, then he killed her, then disposed of her. My understanding too, her hands or something were cut off. So that's somebody really trying to make sure nobody can identify her. This is deep. Let's do a little digging here. Welcome to the Vault Excel, everybody. 1 hour and 17 minutes into this live stream. This is terrible. I won't be covering this story, but I just want to bring an update to the latest from information I've seen. Check out the Chris Thorne show. He's done a video on this. Oh, wow. I'm going to take a brief intermission. You all hold on 1 second, please, if you don't mind. 1 second. Okay, everybody, I'm back. All right, this is the latest developments pertaining to this child. What I'm about to read is it's not good. It's not good at all. 13-year-old Ohio girl was discovered murdered, raped with her hand severed inside of an abandoned home, and police shot and arrested her animal father, who had appeared on TV. What do they call him? Animal father. On TV to raise awareness about her disappearance. Well, he is an animal, so I was just wondering. They had that in parentheses. Kamani Latigue's mutilated body was found in a burnt-out house in Toledo on Monday, 6 days after her family reported her missing in what one cop described as one of the most horrific cases I've ever heard. This is an absolute animal that came into our town, Columbus Police Lieutenant Brian Steele told WCMH. Wow, what in the world am I reading? Steele said Kamani, who was just days away from her 14th birthday, was found with her hands removed and her head nearly chopped off on the second floor of the vacant home. Oh my God. Authorities also determined the teenager had been raped. An autopsy on Tuesday confirmed she died of multiple incisive wounds of the neck, according to the coroner's office. While family members were pleading with the public to help find Kamani, her father, Darnell Jones, appeared on local news and said he last saw his daughter the night of March 16th after she called him to say she was scared to be home alone. It seemed like somebody was trying to break into the house, the 33-year-old claimed his daughter told him, and he said he drove over to the house around 12:30 a.m. Kamani lived with her grandmother, Dorothy Latigue, who was not home at the time, and 2 dogs. Okay, so now we got to ask this, if this is true, which I don't believe this is true. Where was the grandmother at for him to come over? And I also believe they said he came over with another male, a cousin. Kamani's mother, Tiara Caston, said she last saw her daughter on March 15th when Jones brought the girl to her home. So now we got all this shuffling around. Darnell Jones is the father, allegedly. He took her to see the bio mom on the 15th, the day before. Apparently, my mother gave him permission and honestly was just loving on my kid. We play video games, she told WTVG, adding that Kamani would only go to school, play basketball, and go home. Listen, I want you all to listen at the wording here. Apparently, my mother gave him permission, and honestly, it was just loving on my kid. What do you mean loving on my kid? You mean our kid. So is he the father or not? See, everything's in the wording, the details. I'm not going to say my kid if he's the father of the kid. I would say he loved on our child. So, Tiara, is this man the father of your child or not? Say she would only go to school, play basketball, and go home. When Dorothy Latigue came home, she found the house in disarray with the teen's underclothes by the couch and her pajamas on the dining room floor. Are you hearing this? Her underclothes by the couch and her pajamas on the dining room floor. Oh my God, I'm dead. So you all raped her there in the house. And because grandma was out doing her damn thing, he took advantage of that and raped his own child in a house where anybody could have walked in and caught him. This is how bold this Negro is. Oh my goodness, I'm about ready to scream. The stove was on, and Kamani's keys and glasses, which she couldn't see without, was still there, the grieving grandmother told WTVG. The stove was on. What do you mean, the gas? He had the gas on? Did they have a gas stove? Because if he turned the gas on, he probably trying to burn the damn house down. So don't you find it interesting that she was found in an abandoned house and it was on fire? Yeah, he was trying to burn the damn house down. Oh man, I'm crunk now. After Jones gave inconsistent statements to Toledo police about Kamani's whereabouts and what the two did together, cops issued a warrant for his arrest on Sunday, according to charging documents. When her body was discovered the following day, authorities additionally charged Jones, who was on the run with murder and felonious assault. Officials have not identified a motive for the disturbing killing. Jones was tracked down in Columbus, about 2 hours south of Toledo, where he was shot in a SWAT team operation. Police said he had a gun. It's not clear if Jones shot at the officers, but none were injured. He was taken to the hospital where he underwent surgery, and a vehicle believed to be connected to the case was seized as evidence. You pull a gun at officers, as we've said many times. This is the outcome you could expect, Steele said. The horrific murder has left the Toledo community shaken. A spokesperson for Toledo Public Schools said Kamani was due to be presented with a kindness award this week and had been on her elementary school's honor roll. The students and staff at Spring Elementary are saddened by the loss of their friend and classmate Kamani Latigue, a TPS spokesperson told WTVG. What the fuck did I just read? This is ridiculous. So obviously he has been sexually assaulting his own daughter for how long? Let's start from the top and work our way down. Number one is Mr. Jones, the biological father of this deceased girl. 2, why didn't the mother have custody of her child? 3, why didn't DHS remove her when they saw bruises on her body when they went to investigate? Too many holes. Once again, a failed kid in America. How many times was he going over to the house? Did he know the schedule of this lady? Did she have a job, the grandmother? Did the grandmother work outside of the home? Okay? Got to ask that question because this is going to show the premeditation for sexual assault. How long has the child been being raped, fondled, touched? Has the child been having sex with other people? Children? Naturally, it's rape if it's an adult. You got to ask all those questions. Are we going to find out the girl was pregnant? Keep it real. Grandma, where were you with your black self? Yeah, I'm saying this to you because you are a hot butter mess. And hell yeah, they were circling your house the other day because they know you are part of this too because you were taking care of her. And now we find out you've been fighting the girl, beating the girl. So you liable too, sister. Now, what we're going to hear next. They ain't going to bring no charges against grandma. Because I've told you all this time and time again. They do not arrest people because they abuse their children. It's got to be severe to get an arrest warrant. And the fact that they didn't even have an open case, ain't nothing going to be done to this bitch. Unless they can prove she's in on this man sleeping with this little girl. So now we got to ask what grandma know. And I don't want to think the worst that she was here pimping the little girl out. Heard of that case of the white woman pimping out her biracial daughter to a man, and he raped that little girl and left her dead in a damn abandoned house too. I'm sick of this shit. Y'all be doing too much out here. Y'all be doing too much out here in these streets. And while you sitting up here on the news, you and your stupid daughter trying to tell the world he ain't the father, insinuating, well, why you letting him come see her then if he ain't the father? Checkmate. Come on with it, Queen Preach. You know I'll give you the business. He ain't the daddy, then what's she doing going with him? What is he doing over there? He ain't the pawpaw. Then he ain't got no business over there. This is probably why, if indeed, as I've heard on the Chris Thorne show, the girl had possible behavior issues. Well, you're going to have behavior issues, number one, if you're going from house to house. You're trying to reconcile with your parents. You're not getting along with them. You're now in this third person's house. You're not getting along with her, third, fourth person's house. You all are beating, fighting. You know, sometimes, as they get older, they smell their own funk. They start talking back, acting out. I don't know what was really going on with this kid, but I know one thing. Going from house to house and then somebody sexually touching you, that's enough for having an attitude. We don't even need to question why she would have an attitude or any type of disruptive behavior. Then you got to ask, did she have any type of mental delayment? All those things matter. And let me tell you something. When you got one touching them, you can best believe somebody else touching them. Then you got to ask if grandma had a boyfriend or lover, girlfriend. Who was coming in that house besides this nasty beast? Chopped the baby hands off and tried to chop off her head. Are you hearing this? He wanted to make sure nobody was going to find her, identify her. They were going to find remains, but not know it's her. But they're going to do a DNA testing on anything they got. Bone marrow, dodo bird. See, this is what happens when you stupid. You think you leave a body behind, can't nobody extract DNA. Well, they can. So how badly was she burned in that building? Because I don't know if her body was burned or not. We do know she was sexually assaulted, hands chopped off, and head nearly severed. This is a wildebeest. Going to pick up a child or going to the house and rape her in the house. It's obviously he raped her there. That's why her underwear was left by the couch, because that's where he assaulted her, right there on the couch. Went, sat down, played footsies and all that shit, then just took it. Oh, nasty ass heathen. You need your ass whooped. Maybe I'll let grandma come into jail. She likes beating up people. We'll send grandma to the jail. She like beating up the little 12-year-old, 13-year-old. We'll send her ass in there and let her beat up on you. Do you see this is a pattern? The children get taken from their parents, or the parents give them up, and they go right back into a worse situation. This happens all the time. And it keeps happening because, one, DHS won't call the bluff of these people taking care of these children. That's the fucking problem. You keep giving these kids back, returning them, or you close the case once you investigate. Oh, I don't see any abuse. I don't see anything. You're supposed to know what to look for, even if the child tells you everything's okay. Everything's okay. You're supposed to know what to look for. But you all are so stupid. You just want to shut the fucking case. You don't even care about these kids. So why are you in this line of work? And I get it. Nobody wants to be a social worker. Well, then, don't go in this work. Don't go in this line of work. Go get your ass another type of job. Y'all ain't going to follow through. You're not going to know what signs to look for. What you're supposed to do is take the child in a neutral setting and talk to him or her where the parent is far removed. Foster parent, adoptive parent, whomever. And make the child feel safe. That's what you should do. Is when there is an investigation of any type of abuse, the workers should come at least 2 deep with a cop. And you pick the child up and put the child in the car, social worker car. And then you walk around the house and survey the house from top to bottom with the video or take pictures of everything. The sofa, the carpet, the refrigerator, their room, toothbrush, washcloth. You take a picture of everything. You also talk to the neighbors. You talk to the school. You talk to next of kin to get an idea of the alleged allegation. Okay? That's how you do that. You take the kid back to the office and you talk to the kid by him or herself where they will feel safe and out of the eyes and presence of the perpetrator. Because a child is not getting ready to answer a question with the perpetrator standing feet away. Hey, do you feel safe living here? You feel okay? Even though they know 9 times out of 10 you will probably take them out, but they're just scared to say, yeah, they're beating me, they're hurting me, they're touching me inappropriately. Stop questioning these kids at the house. Pick them up and take them to the office and question and film them on video. And then you have a behavior analyst, have them there to watch the child, a forensic investigator. Especially when you're dealing with child molestation, rape, you should have a forensic investigator to investigate and ask the questions because they know what to look for, since you social workers don't, obviously. This is just another sad, sick case of an abused child who was going from house to house, getting beat up by the grandma, possibly having trouble at one point at a school here and there, got it together, but yet she's being raped by her own father. So she's doing good to have had her grades up before death, for her murder. What do you see in a child? Please explain to the queen. What your nasty ass see in a child? How do you look at a child and say, he or she's attractive? Help me understand. Then it's your own child. You're raping your own flesh and blood. Make it make sense to me. And then you decided what, sir? You want to pull a gun out on the cops. I'm glad they didn't murder this fucker, because I want him to sit in jail and go to trial and cry and moan and make up all the lies he can come up with. This is atrocious. Rape, severed hands, and head nearly removed. A child, a girl child, by her own father. Make it make sense. And the grandma, all you talking about, what the state told you, don't leave no bruises, blah, 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 hit him on the butt. You sound like a damn fool too. And the bio mama, I ain't got nothing for you. As somebody said on their channel, why you want to look at a dead kid? You want to look at your child with her head hanging half off her neck and her hands removed? Oh, yeah, that's my baby. What they do to her? Well, you want to see. Now they going to let you see because you don't have no rights to her. Hello. Mommy dearest. Ain't nobody going to let you see nothing. Oh, what they showed? Some piece of garment or something that belonged to the little girl? I'm so sick of these theatrics with these people. As soon as I saw the news, the first thing came to mind, Ryan Dean from the Cal City Boys. Always wanting to get on TV in the news and talk about a child that you don't even have fucking custody of. A child that you lost custody of, the state took your child away. They're always wanting to give an interview. You ain't trying to tell us why your child got gone. So I don't want to hear you talk about, I want to see my child. Oh, my child is missing. I tried to do everything they told me to do. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. See, that's what people need to understand about these trifling ass mamas that get on the news. The child was doomed. And that's a terrible way of wording it, but it's the truth. Because you don't go from place to place to place to place to only end up dead. You were doomed. The child was doomed. This baby was doomed. Cal City Boys, doomed. Harmony Montgomery, doomed. They're all the same. They were doomed. They didn't have a chance. They didn't have a chance in the womb. And they got shuffled around like cards until their murder. Sick. Oh, man. It's pissing me off. Now I'm going to bring you one last update, and then I'm going to check out of here. As I said, I didn't plan to go this long, but I want to bring you updates to commentary where they got updated information. This is just so horrible. And like I said, imagine the other cases that we don't know of yet, and we just sit and wait for a jump off. Because it looks like the topics I have discussed pertaining to children, the case of the 32-year-old man, this case here with this girl, been abused. And don't nobody know nothing. Or basically ain't nobody wanting to talk and tell it. But then I tell you, there's always somebody that knows the secret. Always somebody knows that somebody is touching little girls under their pants and skirts. But nobody wants to go call the police. Nobody wants to call DHS. Everybody knows about the nasty uncle that likes to pat and fondle little girls. It's the running joke in the family. Don't leave your little girl alone with him. Yeah, I said it. It's a joke. Grow up, and they're still cracking jokes about the motherfucker. This is how insane the world is. That you know somebody is messing with your child because 9 times out of 10, he messed with you as a child, and you think it's okay to leave your child alone with a pedophile. Okay. Okay. USA Today is my last source. This was a 4-part live pertaining to Wendy Williams, Sean Puffy Combs, Julie Chrisley, Bryan Kohberger, and then I added in these stories of the Connecticut man held captive and the situation of the women in the prison, killed in the prison, and then this last case here of Miss Kamani. Sorry about the background. I don't know. It's just a lot of noise going on. A white West Virginia couple convicted of abusing their 5 adopted black children and forcing them to work as slaves was sentenced up to 375 years collectively in state prison. Gene Whitefeather, 63, was sentenced to up to 250 years, while Donald Lance, 62, was sentenced up to 160. Kanawha County Prosecuting Attorney Deborah Rusnick announced at a press conference on Wednesday. In January, a jury convicted Whitefeather of human trafficking of a minor child, violation of civil rights, use of a minor child in forced labor, gross child neglect by a parent, creating a substantial risk of seriously bodily injury, and child abuse by a parent causing bodily injury, the prosecutor's office said in a press release. Lance was convicted of human trafficking of minor child, use of minor child in forced labor, child neglect, creating a substantial risk of serious bodily injury or death, and child abuse resulting in bodily injury. They each have to pay $280,000 in restitution as well, Rusnick announced Wednesday, adding that the sentencing ensures that neither of these defendants will ever breathe free air again. Kanawha County Circuit Judge Mary Claire Akers previously said that the case alleged human trafficking, human rights violations, and the use of forced labor, according to West Virginia Metro News. Human rights violations specific to the fact that these children were targeted because of their race and they were used basically as slaves from what the indictment alleges, Akers said. And also reading from this one man's channel earlier, the fact that they use racial slurs is also added into that for the human rights violations. Whitefeather, Lance, and the 5 children previously lived in Washington. Television station WHSV-TV reported all 5 children were homeschooled in October 2023, according to the station. At the time, the children were 6, 9, 11, 14, and 16, reported WCHS-TV. The couple was first charged after someone called Kanawha County Sheriff's Office at 5:46 p.m. on October 2nd, 2023. The caller asked deputies to come to a home in Sissonville, about 16 miles north of Charleston, the sheriff's office said in a news release. Deputies broke into a shed on the property where they found a 14-year-old, 16-year-old locked inside of a 20 by 14-foot room. The children had no way of getting out on their own, no running water, no bathrooms, and had been denied hygienic care, the sheriff's office said. Inside the main residence, deputies found a small child locked inside alone. The child was in a loft that was 15 feet high, the sheriff once said. A child locked inside alone. Yeah, she was up in the rafters, the little girl. Citing a criminal complaint in a 911 caller, WCHS-TV reported that the children were locked in the shed for days at a time. The caller also told deputies they'd seen Lance open the door to the shed, talk to the children, then close the door, locking them inside. The caller said the children were forced to do farm work and not allowed inside the home. Citing the criminal complaint, This news station reported the teens had dirty clothes, body odor. A deputy also testified and said there was a concrete floor, a pan on a tarp that the children used as a bathroom, and a table and chair. Inside, the teens had no bedding, no air conditioning, and only a loaf of bread and cups of warm water. No caretakers or parents were at the home when authorities first showed up, but eventually Lance and Whitefeather showed up, the sheriff's office said. During an arraignment on June 11th, Whitefeather's attorney Mark Plant said the shed where the 14 and 16-year-old was a teenage clubhouse, and the situation was just plain and simple misunderstanding. Just a plain and simple misunderstanding. Yeah, right. He said there was a key inside the shed the entire time, reported television station WCHS-TV. Yeah, okay. One of the witnesses who testified during the trial was Whitefeather's brother, Mark Hughes. Hughes lived in Ohio, but said he traveled to Sissonville about a week after his sister's arrest, reported WCHS-TV. He testified that the family was moving to a bigger home with more bedrooms, which explained why the home the children were found in wasn't furnished. Hughes said the shed was a hangout. He also said his sister told him during a phone call that there was a key inside the shed. I was shocked when I saw this key, he said. During the trial, a photo of a key on a rope was shown in the court. Hughes said he found it on the table in the shed near the door. Plant's Whitefeather's lawyer previously said the parents made very, very poor decisions, but a jury would decide what was done factually. When asked about the couple paying the children $280,000 in restitution, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Chris Kriveniak, said the children may need counseling or medical treatment in the future. We just tried to run numbers that were reasonable based on the circumstances, but we took the cost of a visit to the doctor and assumed a certain number per year over a period of years, and that's how we came up with the number, he said. Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Madison Tuck spoke Wednesday and said she became an assistant prosecutor to help children. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to work with the children in this case, she said. They are so wonderful, so smart, so funny. They're going to do amazing things in this world, and I'm so grateful to be a part of getting some semblance of justice for them after they experienced all of this. According to WCHS-TV, the oldest child testified during the trial and had a request for Whitefeather's lawyer, who referred to Whitefeather as the teen's mother. Don't call her my mother, please, the teen said. That's my only request to you. Her name is Jean or Miss Whitefeather, she said. Please and thank you. USA Today is the source. So she didn't want that lady being called her mother, which she's not her mother. And that man wasn't her father or the children's parents. And I also heard she gave her the business in that speech, letting her know what she did to her and the other children was wrong. And like the guy said on his YouTube channel, they're going to get a better life in prison than what they gave those kids. They're going to have a cot with a thin mattress, a blanket, 3 meals. People can send them money, visit them. They'll have internet access, a few little toiletries, all of that. I think these people wanted to live out what it was like back in the old days of the white man owning black people. That's what I think. They wanted to relive history. Let's see what it's like to own black people and use them. So they got a free opportunity to use 5 little black children at their disposal. But like this guy said, some of the slaves were treated better because they at least had their own sleeping quarters and they were able to eat, unlike these 5. But nonetheless, many blacks were mistreated, raped, beat, and also murdered. We're not going to leave that out. These people are disgusting. But see, this is why I keep trying to tell people, you don't know people. Because as you see, the white woman's brother is defending this bullshit about a key left in the shed and it's a hangout. How's it a hangout and there's no furniture in there but a chair and a table? You didn't see toys, did you? Did you see a flat screen in there? Did you see it decked out with furniture, beds? Did you see furniture and beds in the big house? You didn't. And then you're going to have the nerve to say, oh, well, they were moving anyway to a bigger house. So that's why there was no furniture in the main house. Oh my God, I could scream. How stupid that sounds. They were probably living in that house for years, God knows how long, and they didn't want no furniture in their own fucking house. They're moving around because of these allegations of abuse. Washington, Minnesota, West Virginia. They're living in all these different places. Why? Because they were probably getting phone calls that the kids were abused by somebody, school, neighbors, and then poof, 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 up move. I mean, that's why they moved to Washington State. Then they moved to West Virginia. Why weren't the children in school? Exactly. Because your sole purpose of adopting these black children was to use them as miniature slaves. Got the children out there working on the land with the animals, probably making your own food products from the animals, and you use those little black kids. And I'm sure you were calling them niggers and all type of little nasty ass names. All for it to backfire and turn on you. Now you're incarcerated. And hopefully somebody will give you the business like what you gave those 5 children. See, you don't know people. And even today, you've got somebody aiding another human who violated the rights of 5 black children by saying that was their hangout. Oh, they had a key in the room. You think those kids were going to use that key? They probably too scared to put the key in the door and try to get out. And for all we know, it's a key that didn't even work. Stop the bullshit, okay? Just stop it. You're aiding your family. What do you think they were using the pot for? I'm sure the pot probably had fecal matter and urine in it. That sounds like a playhouse to you? A loaf of bread, does that sound like a good meal to you? The kids smelled. Naturally, their hair ain't combed. Teeth not brushed. Not seeing a doctor. But that's proper care to you. So even if you're listening to this bullshit in court, you still going to aid your sister and say, oh, they were treating them well. Oh, they could have just put the key in and walked out. See, you're hearing what you want to hear. You don't care that they weren't treated right. Weren't no beds in there. Little girl was sleeping in a sleeping bag, the youngest one. The boy was sleeping on a cardboard. But that's a playhouse to you. You forgot about that part in court. Just that, it was a key there they could have put in the door. That key was a test to see how loyal these children were. I thought that as soon as I read it. We'll put the key here and see if they'll use it to try to break out. But where you all are stupid, you know damn well they locked that door from the outside. So how are the kids going to get out with a key to stop this nonsense? You want us to believe they put a key in there with a padlock from the inside. Come on now. You know, Queen got to break it down. And told the kids when they shut the door, now lock this door back. Well, if the kids had enough sense to lock it from the inside, why would they want to open it to go out to be used as a slave? Because they had it padlocked from outside. Don't you think the neighbor told that in court? I see them talking to the children and then they shut the door and then lock it. So what purpose would the fucking key serve on the inside of the barn? It wouldn't. And here go this brother. You've had to heard all of this testimony and you still aiding your sister with this bullshit of brother, whomever. Oh, they got a key. They could get out. You just as disgusting. Suing for money, $280,000 to the children. They need to auction off everything that they own and then divide that money up between all 5 children. Okay? Now, once again, as I said about this keypad bullshit and key and lock, right here it says, right here in the article, deputies broke into a shed on the property where they found a 16-year-old inside a 20 by 14 room. So Why would they need to break in if the kids could get out with their own key, sir? See, I like a fool. I love me a fool that just refused to accept the evidence as it is. Well, why did they need to break in? Why did the deputies need to break in? If it was no lock on the outside, they need to break in, right? They know some kids inside. All they have to do is knock on the door and say, hey, let us in, unlock the door. Right. Okay. Then it says right here, main residence, deputies found small child locked inside alone. That's in the main house, in a loft 15 feet high. Okay. But I guess that's all made up too. Woo. And the attorney, Mr. Plants, you're stupid too. Oh, it was a teenage clubhouse, just plain and simple. Just a plain and simple misunderstanding. But then you get the pictures of the playhouse that was a barn with a shit pot. Then you see pictures of what the children look like inside the shit pot barn. Then you hear the testimony from the deputies the children smelled. Okay. Yeah, this is the sister's brother, Mark Hughes, another dodo bird, who's making excuses for why they were moving and why there's no furniture in the house. I'm just looking at this bullshit. With more bedrooms, which explain why the home the children were found in wasn't furnished. They didn't get a house with a lot of bedrooms because they didn't want a house with bedrooms, Mr. Mark. Mr. Stupid Ass. Because they had no intention of having those black kids living in their fucking house. They wanted those black kids to be out there in that barn, little miniature slaves, and that's where they were. Point blank. So you and that attorney can definitely kiss my black ass. The fact that you're trying to sugarcoat the evidence and the testimony from the fucking kids. And anybody with sense knows investigators took pictures of the barn and the house and the state of the children. And yet you want to give public commentary. Oh, it ain't what you think it is. It's a playhouse. Oh, they only lived in this house because they were going to get a bigger house with more bedrooms. No, they weren't. They wouldn't get ready to go buy shit. The only way those people would have moved, it was because they thought somebody was on to them with them kids. But it had nothing to do about getting bigger bedrooms because they had no intention of putting those kids in their damn house. That's why they were in the barn. Now, I'm thinking about putting up a question on the poll. I'm sure somebody's going to get offended, but I don't care. Because I ask all questions pertaining to true crime. Whether you like it or not, you don't have to like it. Should white people adopt black children? Because there are a lot of black people who feel like white people shouldn't adopt black children for the obvious reasons. Because they don't feel like they can give them the culture that they need. Everybody's entitled to his or her opinion. I'm going to stay mum on my own poll. But I'm going to put that up. Because I want to speak from what I've seen with my own eyes, with little black children adopted by white people. Over the years as an adult, child and an adult, I've seen a lot of black kids in the care of white people. And I could say many of the times, the children I have seen, I did not like the way they looked as far as their hair. So I'm going to say this to any race that decides to adopt black children. If you're going to adopt black children, ask somebody how to take care of their hair. Cutting it off down to the nub is not the answer. you don't know how to style it, you don't know how to comb it, then you go find somebody that knows how to do it. But shaving it off is not the answer for a little girl to be walking around with 1 inch, 2 inches of fucking hair. That's honorary. And I've seen a lot of this with biracial children. I don't know how many biracial children I have seen, little girls with all their hair shaved down because somebody don't know how to comb their hair. Well, that's what you should have been thinking about when you decided you wanted to lay down with a black man or a black woman and make a kid. Yeah, I'm going there. It's all fun and games when we're having sex, but then when the baby gets here and it's time for the hair to grow, oh, I don't know what to do with their hair. Well, ask somebody. Ask someone, do you know how to do black hair? And all black hair is not the same. Let me make that clear. Some black hair needs more maintenance than others. So that's why you inquire. Because we have black people who act like they don't even know how to do their own black child's hair. So what you do is you go find somebody that can do the child's hair. Because trust me, there are beauticians out here. But naturally, thicker it is, longer it is, the more you're going to have to pay. It's the game. It's called life. But that is something I'm sick of seeing. I have seen this in so many black children, either raised by their own black parents, black caretakers, biracial children, raised by white mamas. I'm sick of looking at this. Please stop cutting these children's hair off to the nub. Go find somebody who can style their hair. That's my commentary. I did not plan on being on this live at all this long, but I wanted to bring updates to some cases that I have shared to my community page. And I can just say I am just sick of these endless stories about these kids. And it looks like to me, it does not matter who has them. The black mamas and daddies don't want them. The white people raising them, they don't want them. The foster care adopted people, they don't want them. Then stop taking them. And mainly, for those of you who keep opening your legs, close them. We'll just remove birth control altogether. Just abstain. Because this is ridiculous. These horrible stories of children being abused and shifted and shuffled around like a deck of fucking cards to only end up dead by their own family members. How about that? Get taken from your mother, shifted around house to house, live with your grandmother, you're fighting your grandmother, and your daddy coming over raping you. Not a Lifetime movie. Not a Tubi movie. Not Netflix, but real life. Stop having kids. You want to run the street, get high, dance, twerk, do it single. That's what you do. You want to go out here, sleep with all the women? Good. Put a condom on. Or get your little friend snipped. And you can screw all the women you want. Now we have to ask the ultimate question pertaining to this case of this man raping his own kid and killing her. Has he also raped other little girls? Bingo card. So see, the plot thickens. And now we have definitely gone into the abyss, because when you're talking about a person raping their own child, you have to use common sense. He's probably raped other children. So now you got to ask, does he have a girlfriend? Who does he live with? Does she have children? Oh, shit. Lord have mercy. That's my commentary, everybody. Prayers for these children who were freed from this hellhole of being enslaved by a white couple in West Virginia. They've got 100+ years each. And wherever they are, show them no mercy. Kamani, no longer alive, father in custody. Man held captive in Connecticut, now free. His mother has spoken out as bio mother and sister. Will he rekindle a relationship with her? We will see. I'll bring you an update when we get that information. How do you all feel about her having a relationship with her son? How does he feel about trying to have a relationship? Is he mentally stable? I hear that he's a funny person, got a sense of humor. So even after all he's been through for 20 plus years, 30 years, he has a sense of humor. How about that? Same thing you heard about these kids, smart, articulate. They usually are. And he's alive to tell the story. The 5 black children, they're alive to tell the story. But one little butterfly didn't make it and has a birthday, I believe, tomorrow. She didn't live to tell the story. Julie Chrisley wants to be resentenced and wants a new judge to hear her case. Puffy got a win in court pertaining to Little Rod's allegations in a civil suit. The major allegations were dismissed, thrown out by a judge. Wendy Williams has reconciled with her son. And Bryan Kohberger has been linked to a certain type of black mask. It's called balaclava. Bought on an Amazon account shared by his family. Who's going to say they bought the mask and produce it? Or will they say, no, we never bought it, nor did we buy a knife, a sheath, or a knife sharpener? What else is going to be released pertaining to Mr. Kohberger? His data, his phone purchases before the murders, like days before. And are we going to get a visual of Mr. Kohberger going in or coming out of that residence by the house next door? That most definitely would be the smoking gun. Like, share, subscribe, drop your comments below this video. Take the polls on my community page. Prayers for the 2 women who died at Mule Creek Prison. This will be a continued conversation because I'm assuming these people, the family members of these 2 women, have probably sued this prison. I think they need a new warden, and I think they need a new policy not to have any more conjugal visits, because the fact that we now are getting information of another woman who died last July is preposterous. That means they continue to have those visits, and another lady died in November, which was 4 months later. This is horrendous information. 2 women dying in a 4-month time span at the same damn prison. This is bad. Take the polls, everybody, on my community page. I will be putting up another movie suggestion for the weekend and a few more polls pertaining to the subject matter in this live stream. And if you'd like to donate to this great network, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. Thank you for your time. You all have a wonderful weekend. God bless all of you. Please continue to pray for the Queen. I've been running back and forth to the doctors. Still have to go again tomorrow. C2. Prayers for me in this damn journey that I'm on. I've not been in the best mood since yesterday in the past couple weeks, but I'm trying to keep my head above water. It's a bit hard, but I'm still here. But once again, thank you all for the kind words and the prayers. I will be back with more stimulating content. I will be doing some shorts on the information from this live stream, just for those who don't have the time to sit through a winded live, because I said I was not going to do any more winded lives, but because I had so many updates, I decided to do it here on the StreamYard. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Pale Rider. You all have a wonderful weekend. Hello, Pen 10. Thank you all so much. God bless all of you. And I'm going to have a guest come on when she gets some time. And we're going to talk about this prison situation of women dating and marrying men who have been convicted of murders. That'll be a upcoming live. Thank you very much. You've been listening to the Vault XL.